guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So it might be a little echoey in here today because I have to keep my door closed because I'm watching a dog and my dog is also upstairs running amok and my fiance keeps coming in and out of the house because he's doing Christmas lights, so it's loud. So my door has to stay closed, so I'm hoping the echo is okay. I'm also not wearing makeup because I just don't feel like it. And we're just gonna read some spooky stories. So the story that I'm gonna read today is from the no sleep section. So if you're unfamiliar with what no sleep is, you live under a rock. But it is a fictional Reddit forum. So if you're not into fictional stories, then you probably won't love this video, but I like to sprinkle in a little bit of fiction along with you guys' crazy tales of torture that you guys send me because you guys live in the craziest haunted houses and y'all say that it's not fictional and it scares the shit out of me. So I'm going to sprinkle in a fictional story just so that we are reminded that this one's not real. And if we are terrified by the end, it's okay because it's not real. So this is from the no sleep section. It is from the Reddit author unicorn_warrior_557. And it's titled, "It Wasn't a Regular Camping Trip." As I got out of bed, I walked down the stairway and cooked me some breakfast, a mushroom omelet with a side of toast. It was the busiest time of the year. Parents doing last-minute shopping, kids singing Christmas carols, people watching movies. All of that. I thought it was a good time to go camping since most people go out during the warmer days. Plus, I had a glamping tent and I hadn't used it yet. When I finished eating breakfast, I grabbed a notepad and read what I needed to bring. 1-quart canteen, portable satellite, sleeping bag, glamping tent, portable wireless heater, laptop, food, lantern, and a tent lock. After I got the last item off the list, I used the restroom before locking my house up. When I got into the car, I headed to the nearest gas station, where I bought a bag of chips. As I was getting ready to check my items out, I saw a peculiar-looking man. He had gray hair and a receding hairline. He looked as if he was in his 90s, and he also had a red cashmere sweater and a slim green cargo pants. From what I could tell, he had a crowbar and a black garbage bag in his hands. I stared at him but got interrupted by the cashier's words. "That will be $5.30, and would you like a receipt?" I handed her the cash and told her no before promptly exiting the store. As I was filling up my car with gas, I saw the same old man from the store entering his rusty old blue pickup truck with the items he had just bought from the store. I shrugged it off and put the gas pump back and then proceeded to drive my car to the campground. I was getting close to the park after a few hours of driving. When I entered the park, I parked my car into the nearest parking space before grabbing my stuff from the back of my truck, and looking around, I saw a toll booth and a bunch of other miscellaneous cars. As I walked towards the toll booth, I was greeted by the toll booth operator. I asked for the fee, and he said that it was free today. No wonder there were so many cars, I thought to myself. From what I remembered, the operator said, "Campsite 12 is still available. All you need to do is walk straight until you come to a fork in which you'll turn left and continue walking left until you spot another trail intersecting the road you're walking on. Go to that trail and it'll lead you to the vacant campsite." I thanked him as he pushed a button, opening the gate into the forest. There, I hiked towards my campsite. When I finished hiking, the campsite I saw was a beautiful arrangement of trees, elegantly swaying in the back and forth motion, while an orange bright sky lay upon it. Perfect, I thought to myself. As I admired the scenery upon me, I started to set up my tent. I swung it around to get some air inside my tent, and I anchored it with the screws that came with it. After that, I set up my satellite and the internet. Next, I put my sleeping bag, lantern, laptop, and portable heater inside the tent. I grabbed my snacks and I put them inside as well, and I was ready to camp. By the time I finished setting up the campsite, it was already nighttime, so I got into my tent and I locked it with my trusty tent lock. While I was sleeping, I felt thirsty, so I woke up and I got up to grab my canteen. When I was drinking out of it, I suddenly spotted a silhouette of a man that looked like he was holding a crowbar. I was unsure at the time because of my blurred vision. It looked like he was getting closer when all of a sudden, he vanished. My heart pounding as I waited in silence, and I heard nothing. I opened my laptop to call the police, but there wasn't any internet services available at that time. I grabbed my lantern to go outside and check it and to figure out what was wrong with the Wi-Fi. So I clenched my fists and prepared myself to fight, just in case. I slowly opened the tent lock and the tent zipper door, and I saw nothing. As I leaned towards to get a closer look, I saw what seemed to be a dead corpse in a garbage bag, hanging on a tree that said, "You're next," written in blood on the garbage bag. When I saw that, my heart skipped a beat and I jumped into my tent, zipping shut and locking the tent door. I curled up in a ball inside of my sleeping bag and I slept for the rest of the night. The next morning, I woke up pondering what had just happened the night before. I went outside and I saw that the body was no longer there, and my satellite in its original spot, which clearly wasn't there either. Something was very wrong. But now that I have the internet again, I could call the police. I called the police and they agreed that they would come, but it would take a while and they won't arrive until midday. So then I called the park's phone number and they hung up on me. Something bad was going to happen sooner or later, so I immediately got all of my stuff packed up in my tent and I ran for my car. I forgot how and where to go, so I accidentally went the wrong way when I reached the fork in the road. When I walked up the other trail, I saw a log cabin in the distance by a lake. What's weird is I saw the same old rusty pickup truck from the gas station. I ran back to the trail I was on and I headed in the right direction this time, and I finally found the parking spot with the gates were open. But then I stepped closer, and the gates were now closed. "You thought you could escape that easily?" croaked a mysterious voice out of nowhere. Then the toll booth operator suddenly appeared in my path. For years, customers have mistreated me even though I was very nice to them. I own this park, so technically you're trespassing, and now I can finally get my revenge. Then a large clank was heard and the toll booth operator collapsed. Behind him stood the same old man carrying the same crowbar from the gas station. Before I could question, I was already in the car with my stuff back in my trunk. "Don't worry, I'll take care of him," the old man replied. As I drove off, I saw the old man tie up the insane toll booth operator while the sun was shining brightly. I thought the old man was the killer, but that goes to show you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Weeks have passed and I have been informed that the toll booth operator had been sentenced to life in prison and that the old man now owns the park, taking place of the toll booth now. I guess Christmas came early for me. Okay, that story is really, really, really creepy. It kind of ended up good at the end. The toll booth operator got caught and it was a little corny at the end. I kind of liked it though. It was kind of fun and kind of weird, but at the same time, it wasn't too serious. So I really enjoyed that story. I hope you guys like me adding in a couple stories here and there that aren't super terrifying, because sometimes we need a break from how absolutely terrifying all of these stories can be. The next one that I'm going to read is a fairly long one. It is also from the No Sleep section, and it's titled The Haunting in the Asylum. This Reddit author has since deleted their account, so I can't reference them, but I still have it saved on my phone. Greetings, fellow seekers of the unknown. My name is Mark. I use out of necessity, for what I'm about to recount may indeed shake the very core of your understanding of reality. It is a tale steeped in horror, madness, and a slow descent into the abyss of the human psyche. This is my story, a chronicle of the hauntings of this asylum, and the terror that will still claw at the fringes of my mind. The journey began under a seemingly mundane assignment. As a freelance photographer, I was commissioned by a local magazine to capture the desolate beauty of an abandoned structure of the Halloween issue, Hallow Creek Asylum. It was shuttered and decaying, and that was to be my subject. Little did I know, it would also become my tormentor. The asylum stood alone in the wilderness, a crumbling edifice of Gothic architecture, its spires piercing the gray sky like skeletal fingers. The atmosphere was oppressive, and the air was thick with a scent of rot and decay. As I crossed the threshold, an icy chill enveloped me, as the building itself was exhaling its malevolence. The entrance hall was vast and echoing, every step I took reverberating through the empty corridors, an unwelcome intrusion in a place long forgotten by the living. I began my work with click of my camera shutter, the only sound in the suffocating silence. Dust motes danced in the thin beams of light that pierced the boarded windows, illuminating the remains of the bygone era. My lens captured the peeling paint, the rusty gurneys, the forlorn wheelchairs, each frame a testament to the suffering that had once permeated these walls. It was when I ventured into the basement that the true nature of Hollow Creek began to reveal itself to me. The stairwell descending into darkness, the air growing colder with each step, and my flashlight in my hand cut through the inky blackness, revealing rows of rusting metal beds, each one fitted with restraints. The sight was enough to unsettle the bravest of souls, but I pressed on, driven by a morbid curiosity. At the far end of the basement, hidden behind a false wall, I discovered there was a door. It was heavy, reinforced with steel, and covered in strange arcane symbols that seemed to writhe and shift under the beam of my flashlight. With great effort, I pried it open. The room beyond was small, and the stench of decay was overwhelming. Chains hung from the ceiling, and the floor was stained with a dark color, mostly remnants of blood. In the center of the room was an operating table, encrusted with dried blood and surrounded by grotesque surgical instruments. As I approached, a glint of metal on the floor caught my eye. I picked it up. It was a small, ornate key. The moment it touched my skin, a searing pain shot through my skull, and I was plunged into a vision of unspeakable horrors. I saw doctors and nurses, their faces twisted in sadistic glee, performing macabre experiments on the helpless patients. They cut and sliced with gleeful abandon, the screams of their victims filling the air. Standing in the corner, shrouded in darkness, was a figure whose presence excluded pure evil. Its eyes, twin pools of malevolence, locked into mine, and I felt my sanity begin to unravel. The vision dissipated, leaving me gasping for breath on the cold stone floor. I wanted to flee, but a sinister compulsion rooted me in place. Pocketing the key, I continued my photographic exploration. Through each snap of the shutter felt like a tolling bell, counting down the moments until my doom. Returning to the main floor, I began to hear it. Footsteps echoing behind me, growing louder and more insistent. I spun around, but the corridor was empty. The temperature plummeted and my breath misted in the air. Then came the whispers, barely audible at first, but they grew louder with each passing second. They called out my name, not with familiarity, but with an eerie, predatory intimacy. Panic set in, and I started to run. But the asylum had transformed into a labyrinth, corridors stretching into infinity doors, appearing and disappearing at random. My mind was fracturing, each step deepening the sense of dread that gnawed at my sanity. The whispers became screams, the cries of the damned echoing through the walls. In my frenzied flight, I stumbled into a room that was not on any of the asylum blueprints. It was small and windowless, the walls covered in symbols similar to those of the basement door. At the center was a circle of blackened, melted candles. I realized too late that I had entered the very heart of the asylum's darkness. The door slammed shut with a defying finality, and the temperature dropped to an unbearable cold. My flashlight flickered and died, plunging me into absolute darkness. Then I felt it. A cold, clammy hand wrapping around my throat, lifting me off the ground. I struggled, gasping for my breath, and then there was nothing to fight against, nothing to even see. As my vision dimmed, I was filled with a sense of utter despair. This is how it would end, alone and forgotten in a place that devoured souls. But then, just as suddenly, the grip released. I collapsed to the floor, gasping for air, my body trembling with fear. The room was now empty, but the sense of being watched was overwhelming, and I knew I had to get out. Stumbling through the corridors, I finally found the exit. The sunlight was blinding, the fresh air shocked my system. I drove away from Hollow Creek Asylum, my hands shaking on the wheel, but the terror had not ended. The nightmares began that night, visions of the asylum, the patients, the malevolent figure haunting my sleep. The whispers followed me even in my waking hours, a constant reminder of the darkness I had encountered. I still have the key though. I've tried to rid myself of it. It always finds its way back though, a cursed token of my encounter with the abyss. I fear the entity I encountered at Hollow Creek is not confined to the asylum. It watches, it waits, and it whispers. My sanity is slipping, the boundaries between reality and nightmare blurring. I write this not for sympathy, but as a warning. If you ever find yourself near Hollow Creek Asylum, stay away. Some doors should never be opened, and some horrors should remain buried in the dark. And remember, once you've looked into the abyss, it looks back at you. Story was really creepy. I hated that so much. I like that it was fictional. It's not real. So let's just remember it's not a real story. But places like that do exist. Creepy abandoned asylums do exist. And maybe we should just stop going to them, because people on YouTube will go to them and they'll be like, we're gonna go to a haunted abandoned asylum. And then they go inside and then they're see all these crazy things, and yeah, it's entertainment for YouTube, but what the fuck? I would never put myself in that position. I love reading stories and I love watching those videos, and that's why people do them, but I would never actually go and do one because I am a big chicken and I hate that so much. Oh my God, I can't imagine actually seeing any of the paranormal things that you guys see. I've never really had too many paranormal things happen to me personally, and I'm so thankful for that because I would not be able to handle it. I love reading your guys' paranormal stories and living through you guys them, but I don't ever want to experience them myself. That's just a big no for me. So this is where I'm going to end the video. I'm sorry that I haven't been posting as often as I would like to. Like I've said in my last video, YouTube is not really promoting my channel anymore, and I have been busy over the last couple of weeks because it is Christmas time, and I'm sorry that I'm not posting as often as I would like to, but I'm definitely going to try to post more often. But I'm also having a harder time finding stories that I think you guys would enjoy and stories that are appropriate for YouTube. So if you guys have any stories that you want to share with the channel that you want me to read, any personalized stories or any fictional stories, or even if you come across a Reddit story that you would like me to read, please feel free to send it either over my email or over my Instagram DMs, and I would love to read them. I love your guys' personalized stories because it just feels a little more personal, and I like interacting with you guys. And of course I love reading stories from Reddit, but it's just a little bit more personal when it comes from my audience. So if you guys have any of your guys' own personalized stories that you want to share with me, please feel free to message me. I will definitely read as many as I can, as long as they are appropriate for the channel and as long as they are written in a way that like I understand and can read smoothly. Because sometimes some of the stories that I've been sent over Instagram, I haven't really been able to understand what the story is or what you're trying to say. So I can't always read those stories because it just becomes too choppy. But if you have a story that you want to share, please feel free to reach out and I will try my best to read it as long as it's appropriate for my channel. If you made it to the end of the video, leave me a ghost emoji in my comment section down below because that last video was really creepy and it definitely had to do with an entity. I will be reading more of your guys' personalized stories and more true scary stories in my next upcoming videos. I haven't read a no sleep story in a while, so I just wanted to sprinkle in a story here for you guys because it's been quite some time since I've read a fictional one. So I hope you guys don't mind, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.